Welcome to lessons 21st Basics Formulas and Functions in Google Sheets. In these lessons, we are going to unlock the real power of Google Sheets, formulas and functions. If you have only been typing text or numbers in cells so far, get ready. Formulas will transform your spreadsheets into smart calculations that save times and minimize mistakes. Okay, so and let's open up the spreadsheets, and by the end of these lessons you will be confident using formulas to add, subtract, multiply, divide, and apply common functions like sum, average, mean, max, count, and if. Okay, so let's get started. So let's start with the questions like what are formulas? So a formula in Google Sheets always begins with an equal sign. So let's little bit zoom out or zoom in with the equals, and this tells like the sheets that you want to perform calculations. So for example, if we type 2 plus 2, so here and in a cell, so Google Sheets will calculate and shows us like the 4. Okay, so but formula really shines when you work with our references. So like imagine we have these data sets of monthly sales, like let's say the month, and if I gonna type here, so let's call it the sale. Okay, and sales, and here let's name it the month's name January, and let's go with the February. Okay, Feb, and let's say, and if I gonna use this one as the March. Okay, and let's say the sales value, like if I gonna say the 1200 and 1500, and let's say the 1700. Okay, and let's make it with the bold, or let's make it the more appealing over here, and that's it. So now if we want to add January to February sales, instead of typings, like if I gonna go to over here, or if I gonna type here, instead of like the 1200 or plus 1500, so here we'll type like the sum, or we're gonna use or the references by using the equal, then right here the this one plus use the 15. Okay, so and this way, if sales number change, the formulas update automatically. So like here, if I'm gonna say, let's go ahead, and if I'm gonna use something, this is the, or like let's say the 1400, and here we get the different answers. So that's the power of formulas. And let's practice the four core or arithmetics operations. Like the first one is the additions. So like here, if I'm gonna use the additions, like formula, and this is with the plus icons in, or like over here, let's undo it over here. Like for, or like formula is like, say if I gonna do have something like the b2 and plus the b3, and that's it. Like here we add the January and February sales, and result is the 26. If I change here, let's make it the 1500, and here it comes with the 2700 only. Okay, and for the subtraction, so let's go with the subtractions over here. So this is the negative, like the formula is, let's say the equal, start with the equal, then let's say the February b3 minus or b2. Okay, so here the result is the 300. And for the multiplications, so let's say the multiplications, applications over here. So this formula is, let's use the equal and let's type something like this one, like the January, or like if I gonna go to and use the 2, so the double January sales we will get, and that's it with the 2400. Okay, and for the divisions, so let's say the divisions, so this is the formula, and also you can use the divisions, the symbols over there or like over here. So formula is the start with the equal, and let's say the v3 divide by the or b2, and then press the enter. Okay, so and that's it over here, like 1.25. so notice how we didn't type the actual numbers, we used like the cell references. So this makes your sheets flexible and dynamic. And also typing multiple additionals or additions manually can be tiring. So that's where functions comes in, and a functions is a built-in formula. So the most common or common use one is the sum functions. Okay, so like here, if I gonna use the another month, so let's say the April, and let's say if it is the 2000s over here, and now to calculate the sales, so we can do before that, let's make it the bold, and we can use simply type the equal, or let's say use the equal, and let's say the sum, and use the parenthesis, then let's say the b2 b5. Okay, and close it, and this means add all numbers from b2 through b5. Okay, so this is the easier than writings, like and we have click over here, but we if you type here, let's say one by one, these plus icons, let's do one by one, and that's it. So it takes the several time to work in. Okay, so and here, and sum works with range, so you can scale quickly as your data grow. Now let's calculate some statistics. Okay, so the first one is, or we're gonna use the average, mean, max functions. So data sets continues with sales from like the January to April's, and here if I'm gonna want to find out the average, so let's say the average, let's go with the average functions, and formula is, let's say the equal, and let's say the average like the this one, and here the b2 b5, and that's it. But if you do is the manually, so you need to do, and it takes the several or the more times to do it, like we can do 12 or like 1200, or let's use like here the 1200 plus 1500 plus 1700 plus or 20 or 2000s, and now we need to divide by the 4, and now that here we got it this result. Okay, so or that is over here, or we can have like the these ones, like let's say 1200, and this is our the examples. And if I gonna go to, and here we have the average of this one. Okay, so and that's it with this one. So let's say we have, or before that, so let's also use it, and that's it with the same answers. So now let's move into the main functions. So and the main functions is the example. So this is the smaller number with the main functions, and let's say we want to use the main functions from there, and this is the smaller numbers in our data range like 1200, and with the max functions we can find the largest number with your selections. So let's say go with the x or equal, then let's go with the max, and the next one is So let's select this data range, and here we got or we will get the answers like the 2 or 20 or 20,000 or 2,000. Okay, so these are great for analyzing performance. For example, finding the lowest and highest sales month. Okay, and sometime we want to know how many entries exists in a data. So with this one, so now let's change it or something like that over here. And now notice like March has the or before that or like here March has blank cells. So we can do, so let's go to and let's say the count functions with, let's type here the count functions, then the value 1. So let's say the b to b5, and then close it and then hit on the OK. So and result is here 3 because count only counts the number. And if you want to count all cells and also including blank or text, we'd use the count a function. So this is with the count functions, and the next one is we want to use the count a functions. Okay, so let's say, and we can go with the count, and let's say the count a functions, and let's select this range and close it with a parenthesis. And now that here we got it the result. But if I'm gonna use something as like the, or let's say the nil or something like this one, and that's it. So this count is useful for keeping track of valid data entries. Okay, so and that's it. And now let's move into the if functions. Like one of the most powerful beginners functions is if functions. So it lets you create logics in your sets. So we're gonna want to use the if functions in over here. And like here, if functions is sentence is with the, if I'm gonna show you the examples, so like the this one. So first one is the logic or conditional or expressions or logical expressions, and the next one is the value if true and value if false. Okay, so like let's go to with the simple example. Let's create a simple students names and also their scores. So let's say the name, and if I'm gonna create our, or we can do, so let's go with the new sheets, and here let's say, so this is the name, and here let's say this is the score. And before that, so let's make it the bold to as the headers, and let's say we're gonna want to use the Alex and use the Maria or over here, let's go with, and the another one is let's say the John. Okay, and let's give here the scores like the 45, 60, and the 45. So here is 85, here is the 45s, and we want to mark each students as pass or fails with the pass mark the 50. Okay, so here we can use like the pass or like let's say the fail. Okay, so for that we want to use here the if functions. In like C2 we use like the if functions, then first logical test if b2 is greater than, or we can just say the equal the 50. So if it is true, so if value is true, we want to say the pass, or otherwise if value is false, we want to say, let's go with and say the fail. Okay, so and close with the parenthesis, and then just hit on the OK. So and here or before that, so let's make it the 50, and that's it. And now that here we got the result, like the Alex is pass, or Maria is pass, or the John is the fail. So this makes spreadsheets smarter by automatically categorizing data. Okay, so and that's it. So here you got the pass or fail because this is not greater than the or 50. So Now let's go to the another quick or practice that or data, and here's a quick data sets for the practice on. So for that, so let's go to the new one, and let's say we're gonna use the product, and let's say we if I'm gonna say the price, and here the next one is the quantity. Okay, and that's it. So now or we can do, or let's go create a content plus b to use it. Let's say if I'm gonna go to the pens, and let's say the notebook and bag. Okay, for the examples, price, let's say the 500, let's say the 50, and let's say it's could be the 10, or if I'm gonna say the 5, 2, or we're gonna say the 1. Okay, so now our task is multiply price and quantity to calculate the total. So if I'm gonna say, so this is the total over here. So let's go to the equal, then let's say these are multiplications by over here b2 c or c2, and that's it. So now we can find the result, and the find the totals revenue using the sums. So you can use the sum functions over there by using, let's say the sum functions like d2 d4, and that's it with the total revenue, and find the average. If I gonna go to an average price using average with the average functions, let's say the average, and that's it. Okay, and find the most expensive product using the max. So let's go with, and this is the average. So let's say this is the average, and this is the sum. And now let's move into the max functions to use like the sum or use the max, and that's it. Here is selected, and this is our the max. And for the min, if I gonna go to, and let's say, yeah, or we gonna use the equal, then let's say the min functions, and that's it. Okay, so and marks products as the low, or like if I gonna go to, or let's say the quantity, so low or low stocks, or if quantity, like if I gonna say, let's go with the if functions with over here. So for that, let's use the if, and if I'm gonna use, if it is like if I'm gonna say, if it is greater than the 3, or we can use, so this is the or quantity, or like the low space, or we can just say the or quantity, or we can just say the low, or let's go with if it is greater than like this one, or over here say the 3. So we want to say, so this is the low or stock. Okay, and that's it. Or now otherwise it will comes up with the or space in there. Okay, so and that's it. And also here, and here we got it the these results like the that's way. Okay, so and that's it according to our result. Okay, so there or it comes with the blank. So pause here and try writing this formula yourself. Okay, so and that's it. So let's wrap up. In these lessons you learn, like first one is the formula start with the equals, and also the or can use sales references, and or arithmetic operations like add, subtraction, multiplications, and also the divisions, and or you can say the divided, and sum, average, and also the max and mean for quick calculations, and count a and count to count data, and if functions for logics and decisions making. So formulas and functions are the heart of Google Sheets. With these basics, you can start building powerful dynamic spreadsheets that save times and help you make smarter decisions. In the next lessons, we'll go deeper into more advanced functions and combining formulas. So, see you there.